I just want to talk about something shortly. There was this post, and it's actually a relevant problem now. So many of butch lesbians want to transition. They don't want to be butch women anymore. They want to transition. I'm not gonna cover the exact thing here. I'm gonna cover the whole thing about wanting a drastic self change. So far that you want to have another name, you want to have another body, you just want to be something completely else than what you were before. I myself very well know the feeling of when you don't want to be the person that you were before. You know where it comes from? When people don't value you. It is either trauma induced or some type of abuse induced, and abuse is both physical and psychological mental abuse actually leaves crazier scars than the physical. It's so long term and it imbues into your subconscious. And the whole thing, it's like if you are loved for who you are truly loved, you would not feel the way that you want to change yourself so drastically. When you are loved, truly loved, you don't feel like changing your name. You feel like embracing it. You feel like making it louder. You feel like making it more known. You feel like wanting it to shine because you feel that warmth. You feel that about your name. When you're truly loved, you don't feel like changing yourself drastically to the part where you can't recognize yourself anymore. It's not your old self, it's the new somebody else with another name. When you want to change so drastically, it's being induced into you that the previous you is of no value. It doesn't have the value. And that person in the post whom I was mentioning, why I started this topic, it's one butch that decided to transition after her partner she had marriage with, after years, started to transition, and then they opened the marriage because a partner got with uh, a queer man. And then based on posts, I remember those posts, that the Dutch felt literally undervalued, and everything she started to do was posting face pictures, selfies of her transition online, and constantly showing her face online. Constantly just selfies online, like all the time. I'm telling you, no person acts this way when they actually feel good about themselves. It's like literally so frequently the same type of a selfie. Like the person was made so self-conscious that she didn't see her value anymore, and she wanted to transition to basically be included, to be cool again, to be counted in. And let me tell you what, that is an abusive relationship basis. Nobody who actually feels cared for and loved feels this way, and it comes from subconscious. This is not something that you actually see with your eyes and envision immediately. This is when you feel undervalued for years. Or let's say a year span. At minimum, it does drastic change to you, unless it's something super abusive. Then it's like it can take months, seriously. But overall, in general, you would not feel this way if you were actually appreciated and valued and shown that in actions, matching the words, shown that you have value, that you are valued, that you are loved in any type of relationship. And the biggest mistake here was agreeing to open up to a polycule, because then this person resulted in literally being freaking emotionally abused. Again, excluded and trying to gain validation through posting, constantly posting the same type of freaking, almost same type of freaking angle picture online, constantly seeking validation from other people because what their partner doesn't give it to them. Their partner is liking other person in the polycule. It's literally like self-inflicting abuse and attempting to cope with being underloved. Nobody deserves to be underloved. It's dismissing the red flags in order to fit in. And this usually happens when you have been abused frequently. Of course, you will frequently then. Not everyone, of course, but people who have, it's same as education. When you are educated about something, you'll see that you will recognize these patterns and things. And if you have not recognized it, and if you live in the wish and everyone wants to be cared for and loved, then you will settle for less. And settling for less in this case is basically a pseudo type of narcissistic abuse. Maybe it was real narcissistic abuse there. I don't know that. Can't like diagnose a person that way. Can only see the traits. Because I've seen narcissists and I've dealt with psychology for many years. And yeah, when you drill through all the knowledge, the books, the practical situations, you will literally learn to discern and know stuff. And this type of stuff, unfortunately, any type of wish for drastic change, plastic surgery, not wanting to be as you were before, wanting to even change a name, change appearance, everything about yourself, comes from feeling deeply insecure within, and you gotta see where it comes from. And unfortunately, facing that you are not valued either by your family or your friends, close friends, or you were, because it's about close people or a relationship with your partner. Unfortunately, it's very difficult. It's one of the most difficult things to face. Because our psyche is basically suppressing this stuff. It is acting as counteract. It doesn't want to accept that the closest person to us was inflicting the most damage. And frequently these types of things, why people dismiss red flags for years? Because they, first of all, everyone that wants to be cared for and loved. Second of all, not everyone can recognize the patterns so well because maybe they've dealt with even worse types of abusive situations before in their life. Thirdly, because the longer you are somewhere, the more you are in this pattern of not seeing things, not recognizing the red flags, the more you are imbued in this pattern yourself with your psyche, it adapts to it, you get used to it as a result, and it becomes your new norm gradually. And you live in it. It's like your new, substance of living. It's your new norm because your psyche will adapt to the pain. to save itself. However, the longer you stay, the more damage points it inflicts onto your psyche. And your brain starts to act counterproductive in a sense. It starts to take the damage as the norm because it wants to save itself. And as a result, unfortunately, people might really think that they actually don't want to be themselves anymore. Because I feel like, oh, that's just the inspiration for the new self. It's just the elevation. It's the progression, while actually it is not progression into anything good. It's progression into something questionably, very questionably healthy. It's progression into breaking the boundary of psyche, of self-defense. And when someone doesn't go into self-reflection in that state, they will break that thing of their personality off, that part, and it will become a cognitive dissonance. So if one can, I would really advise to do a good self-reflective work with a specialist who knows deal with in psychoanalysis, because that stuff can be very damaging, and it almost never comes from a good space. We all want that stuff to be from a good space, especially if one is perfectionistic or they don't want to make mistakes. Again, that's trauma induced stuff, and that also can keep people from self-reflecting because they don't want to. Again, psyche works in the defensive way. They don't want to do the self-reflection because they are afraid that they are either wrong. Again, the trauma-induced stuff. They're either wrong, or they are imperfect, or they're not good enough. And it's like this constant pattern. Those snakes are wrapping around that little circle. They're not letting that bubble to pop so you would see what the truth for what it is. And that truth is that the bubble is that self-reflection. And the psyche is suppressing it because of all the inflicted damage. I'm not saying that someone is actually, as a whole, damaged. I'm just saying that that part of psyche, the bubble, is damaged. It's suppressed. It's not even damaged. The correct word would be suppressed. But the further one goes, the more it can actually potentially damage the person. Because, as we know, if we commit to substances, medicalizing, plastic surgery, these things are not reversible. These things are long term. And this is why I'm saying one needs to self-reflect. Okay? And yeah, that's what I wanted to share here.